I'm Eamon.
I'm Merlin.
And we're a gay.
And his NB.
Are you a reality television connoisseur?
Do you like it discussed from an LGBTQ lens?
If so, A Gay and His NB is the podcast for you.
Hear us break down all your favorite guilty pleasure reality shows from Bravo, Drag Race, and just about everything in between.
Listen to A Gay and His NB on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Wrestling Mayhem Show. Since 2006, the pioneer in pro wrestling podcasting.
This show is brought to you by IndieWrestling.us and IndieWrestling.network for your independent wrestling entertainment. Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza.
Just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait. Wait for the perfect time, then attack. Don't give up what you want, take it back. Wait for the perfect time, then attack. Do what you have to do, make it last. Wait for the perfect time, then attack. Don't run one issue, change the back. Wait for the perfect.
Do I get a free pizza coupon for doing this, or how's that work?
It is the Wrestling Mayhem Show, episode 941. Tuesdays, we've been talking professionalized wrestling. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Ready to talk wrestling with you this week with our friends. First of all, the usual crew before we get to our guest of honor for this week. First of all, he still has an entire pizza in his fridge for some reason, and worked the RWA show this weekend and pulled his hair out because I didn't send enough audio cords for him. The Riz is with us.
You know, half a pizza, by the way. Just want to point out.
Half a pizza? Oh, half a pizza. I'm sorry. I misheard
half
you.
pizza.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Half of it's gone.
Okay.
But yeah, we made it work.
You got through RWA.
We made things work.
Beastman didn't lick you or anything like that. I haven't watched much of the show back. Actually, I watched the first 3 matches
Beastman
back.
got excited around me, and I
got
scared.
Really? No, excited Beastman is kind of a scary Beastman, actually.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know what he's brought back with him from Japan.
No, I mean, he did. He was bleeding everywhere, too. Just put out there.
Oh, jeez. Oh, no. Yeah. Well, actually, I saw the pinfall. We're leaving Exodus, and I was like, because, you know, we leave. That show is way earlier than RWA, and we're like, oh, look, they just hit the pinfall. I guess they're done with the show. And then they announced, like, the first blood match for the next fall. I'm like, oh, shit, I didn't know it was this. So, anyways, that's fun. Also with us from the iPhoneography podcast and also frequent contributor on this and the Awesome Cast, Dave Potter is with us.
Hey there, and getting, I'm sure you're getting used to soaking everything in disinfectant after it comes back.
What's that?
Well, I figured with all the first blood match.
Oh, wait, are we talking about soaking Riz in disinfectant?
I mean, we can. I mean, we want to keep Riz safe.
Okay.
I have done worse.
I mean, you haven't lived until you got Koger's blood in your mouth. Anyways, and our guest for tonight, listen, back in 2020, I got called in out of nowhere to do this show in a football field in the, I think it was late in September of 2020, because, you know, that was an amazing year. And I worked with this pair of guys for several weeks, and I had no idea who the hell they were. And one ended up being, I think CM Punk asked if he fancied himself a journalist. And the other one was Rich Bocchini. God, I fucked it up. Rich Bocchini joining us on the show.
Wow. So,
Wow.
you know, you've just admitted to knowing me for like 5 years, and you still fucked my name up.
Oh, I fuck your name up on a regular basis when you're not around. Rich, how are you doing, man? Commentator, You are my second favorite announcer only because I've known Joe longer.
Jeez. Oh. Jeez. I don't know how I feel about that. You talk. Which Joe are you talking about?
Joe Dombrowski.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. I'll accept. I'll accept being second place to Joe.
That's great. My friend Eamon on this show is like third, so it works out.
I'm Sorg. I'm good. It's always we were talking before we started here for a minute. It's always good to catch up with you. Schedules being what they are, it's difficult. Because we're running around. That's just kind of what we do. It's the nature of this nonsense. Which if you're anything like me, sometimes you scratch your head and you're like, why am I doing this? Oh, all right. It's Sorg. It's because of people like you. Honestly.
Oh,
really
thank you so much.
At this point in my career doing this, it really is about the people and having fun. And yeah, you know what, making some money too. But
absolutely.
I don't know about you. I'm not living off of this. I have a shoot job, but it's fun zipping around from town to town and seeing good people such as yourself. And if I go to a town and the people are terrible, I don't go back. So, it's kind of what it is at this point.
That's right. You know who you are. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And like I said, we're going to touch base and introduce those who don't know you in our audience and everything like that. We're going to introduce your background and everything too. Of course, just the highlights here. You are a former announcer with WWE, NXT. I think you had a stint on SmackDown for a bit as Rich Berman, I believe, was your name on there.
Say it again. What?
Berman? Am I saying that wrong?
It was. Well, I understand that there was somebody at WWE that looked kind of like me, kind of like Millhouse.
Oh, I
that
see.
Went by the name Rich Brennan. My understanding was he died in. I've heard multiple things. It was either a bizarre gardening accident. I've also heard that he spontaneously combusted in the announce seat. And I also heard that at one point he either died in a train wreck or grabbed with like the big power thing and like ripped the thing and got electrocuted. So there's a whole lot of like Frank Grimes Spinal Tap going on, and I'm not quite sure what to believe actually happened to him. But I've been told I look like him. So
yeah, allegedly. We'll add the allegedly on there too. So
yeah.
no,
Sorg, I did do some digging before the show.
Oh no!
And for this Brennan guy, whoever he is, I saw that he was on SmackDown early 2010s, and I saw a rumor that he was actually going to go out and interview El Generico when El Generico was on the way, and they were both lost at the same time going to that orphanage.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. See, I don't know if that really lines up with me though, because I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe that's it. I don't know. It's a mystery that will never be uncovered. Apparently,
it may also be helping sick kids in Paraguay or wherever that story is.
Right, of course, yeah, that's the way.
Rich has been, I've been thrown into a lot of big productions in the last 5 years now. God, 5 years.
Right,
and you've taught me a lot, and it's good to finally get you on the show here. There's stuff that there's literally things that you've taught me at Warrior Wrestling that I am still teaching. Like I have brought some of the stuff you taught me to like MMA promotions and things like that I've worked with over the last several years. Yes. Very much so. Like
I'm glad whatever I told you helped.
I was on a meeting with a decent sized, it's kind of a startup, a streaming provider for MMA, and they're like, we want this for all our promotions. I'm like, why don't you have this? You said you're from like a big multi-letter sports company. I won't blow that up, but it's really kind of shocking, that kind of thing. So but anyways, and again, you always got we always have great conversations about what's going on in the world and everything too, and catching up and everything, and we'll get into it. First off, I do want to get into a little bit of the news, and we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on with you here, Rich. But of course, I think the biggest news over the weekend, there's a few things going on, and rumors and whatnots and tweets and all that. But I think one of the biggest things was TNA Wrestling had their Genesis pay-per-view this weekend. Just about a day or two before that, they had an announcement that WWE is partnering with TNA for a multi-year deal. And I guess akin to what they have been doing in this past year as an experiment, where we've seen Joe Hendry pop up and stars from either side, basically NXT popping up on other shows. And I think it's interesting. Like they did put up TNA Genesis NXT was like a big graphic they put out, but they didn't announce anything. We had Cora Jade come out to get face to face with the Knockouts champion, I believe. We had Fraxium pop up and get involved in the Hardys and the Rascals tag team championship match. And leading into that, we are going to have the first live TNA Impact show in 8 years, I think they said, here on Thursday. Wow. So this is a pretty big flex here as these guys are going out, still doing pay-per-views and things like that. And they've been on the come up. They did the rebound a year ago. Personally, I kind of fell out. I think I looked at my history. I got Hard to Kill a year ago when they rebranded, and just through, you get busy, there's too much wrestling. I kind of took the rest of the year off from following TNA in general. Keeping an eye out. I've always been interested, and of course, I think last time I got into him was when Kenny Omega ended up with the Impact Championship over COVID. I was like, okay, let's see what these guys are going to do with this. And I've been always impressed, and of course, ran into, worked with them, in Dallas for WrestleCon for the Multiverse show, and then again in ECW Arena a little bit. It's. I think it's cool to see them doing like 4,000 people in an arena that AEW actually. Missy works with Missy.
Where were they sat? Because I saw the same picture. And I was like, holy shit!
Yeah, the Curtis something Convention Center, I think it was, or Curtis.
What town?
In Dallas, in the greater Dallas area.
So I'm wondering if they were at. I'd have to look. I wonder if they were in Frisco, where they have a junior team that plays there, junior hockey team that plays there, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'll double check it here real quick. But it was funny because I'm sitting there and Missy, she works with New Japan, and I'm like, Missy, I think this is the venue you work down there. And she was like, yeah, but with New Japan we did this, and this, and had this. I'm like, we're like looking at the shots, and she's like, oh, they're doing very well in that building.
Mm-hmm. They were in Garland, Texas.
Yeah, Garland, Texas, officially. I know it was the Curtis something center.
Curtis Culwell Center.
Yep.
I wonder what else they do there. They have, SMU plays basketball there, or it was. Ooh. So anyway, yeah.
But again, like, it felt like a bigger show. It felt like TNA of old when they were in their hotness of, like, what is it, the mid to late 2000s, I feel, when they were stretching a little bit out of the impact zone and doing some venues. They're still, even at that point, doing like 4,000 or 5,000 people, but still that's more than like, that impact zone Universal Studios thing going on, right? So it does feel like they're back to a bit of reason. And I feel like they've been on this track for a while and doing really good about kind of keeping up with it. And the NXT thing like only brings more attention to them at this point, right?
Yeah,
TNA's like, I'm just amazed that they're back as that they're TNA again, and that they didn't just stick with Impact. I think a lot of us thought that was like the death knell, you know what I mean? But they're the company that won't go away no matter what happens. Like, you know what I mean? The world will end, and somehow TNA will still be running shows.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like ECW wishes they were TNA. Like they had TNA's longevity. They had that. They just keep, like you said, rolling down this road of just, we're not gonna be WWE, we're not even gonna be AEW. We're just gonna be our little niche corner in the world of professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. And I've been tough on TNA way too long.
Who hasn't been tough on TNA over the years?
Like I feel like I
remember when
like
TNA. Remember when TNA blocked individuals from this podcast presumably because were you blocked as well? It wasn't just Mike.
I was blocked from the TNA Impact,
which is wild
show, which was streamed on Ustream.
Which is wild because you never said anything online about them, I thought, because I know in the other case, he only said things on the podcast and somehow he got blocked.
No, that was for, what was his name?
That was for tweets.
That was for
tweets. The other guy I thought was because of tweets because
he said he didn't do much on. I don't know.
He didn't do much of tweeting.
Maybe just maybe it was just in.
But I think
because he was trashing them through our account.
He was, but I think it was just one particular person that blocked us.
Yes.
Josh Matthews. That's who, because he blocked both.
I kept wanting. I may have messaged him one time and said, "Please unblock my friend." But
is he still there? Is Josh still there? By the way?
I'm unclear. I didn't see him when they did the last multiverse show. But I presume he's somewhere back there. You know. But no, yeah, because I remember we did. They pulled me in for, what was that, 2016 or 17? They were doing the Twitch streams, which were they pulled me in. And Rich, you saw where I was when I first started with you guys. I had no business doing a fucking Twitch stream in those days. It was you thought I had duct tape shit when you saw that first Warrior in that fucking ring truck in the rain. It was like, my God, no, I'm shocked this worked.
Hold on, was that the show?
I did the Dayton shows with Rockstar.
No, because I'm just thinking about the first show that you're talking about. I remember one show we had that truck.
Yes.
And I remember Hausman saying it's a direct show. I kind of thought that was funny, but there was another show. I think I thought it was you where the mics died or whatever, and Hausman and I literally stood next to the fucking camera.
Yeah. Oh, this is when I'm like
into the camera mics.
And you gave me so much shit over it because it was literally me, and all I had was wrestling trainees that didn't know what an HDMI cord was to hand me something, and I'm like, bro, you got to go stand by the mic, and you walked off. You were pissed, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And you went, listen. I'm like, listen, we did this on the indies for fucking years. This is how we used to do commentary for 10 years at IWC. This is the way it was taught to me. Trust me, I know my shit.
Just to preface, and I think you can appreciate my mindset at the time.
Yes, absolutely.
At this point, I hope
it's the second week, by the way, that I saw you.
I was very when Warrior started, I was like, look, I want to do this, but let's do this right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nothing that drives me more nuts than, listen, you can do it. I believe you can do a show if all your cameras die and all you have is a hard cam.
Yes.
That's doable. But if it sounds like shit, people are going to turn it off.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I don't know if it was at the Kentucky Derby or a NASCAR race a couple years ago where they had all these great camera shots and the audio was garbage, and that's what people complained about.
Yep.
So anyway, that was my mind. I'm like, what are we doing? What kind of fucking shindy bullshit is
and
this?
trust me, it was better than the alternative.
It was. And the funny thing is, the funny thing is, watching it back, it actually didn't sound terrible. It actually sounded all right.
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, absolutely. I don't even know where we came from for there. No, the TNA shows. Oh yeah, dude, I was pulling that together. At some point when I was first hooking it up, because I literally referenced this because I was like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to pull a graphic up, and they're like, why are you doing this? Is because we were on the NWA feed this past weekend, and I was like, listen, if I fuck this up and if the other guy didn't set this up the way I didn't think it was, everybody working out in the ring is going to be out on YouTube, just like I did the TNA on Twitch that one time.
Oh my God.
And meanwhile, I'm in the Rockstar facility. I have zero reception on my AT&T phone, so nobody can text me that there's a problem. They're like, oh no, you needed the graphic up, and I'm just like, I didn't. And at the time when I was streaming doing this show, you stream to something and then hit go live. I didn't know Twitch is you go live when you stream. You know what I mean? I'm like, what do you mean we're live? You're Anthem Sports. You got this, right?
You would think, but
when they're like, they have their expectations of whoever they worked with or whatever, and it is what it is, and it was just like, it was a learning experience,
Right. The cool thing is that it's actually fact that we've been through those things and we've seen, okay, this doesn't work. Mm-hmm. How do you do this? And we've gone way overboard. You and I and other streams I've done.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. We've tried to pack too much shit in there. So I think it's all been a good learning experience. And by and large, most indie wrestling streams at a certain level at this point all look and sound for the most part pretty good. I think we've weeded out a bunch of the garbage, and people have kind of figured out how this stuff works. There's still others, that are whatever, but I'm proud that we've kind of had a hand in that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And
I can confirm that watching Twitch streams of previous wrestling shows where it's just the camera is, let me see, the camera's here, but the ring is over here somewhere.
We're just not.
It's it's in a corner spot, and that's the only camera.
Yeah.
And it's a GoPro camera.
And that's like on IWTV or something, right?
Yes, you have to pay money for that.
Yeah.
And it's like very, very foggy.
You know the immediate way you can tell if somebody knows what they're doing. And Sorg, I think you'll back me up on this. When you've got your hard cam, and then they cut to a shot, and it's the opposite side.
Oh,
in streaming or TV, you call it the 360 crossing. I'm sorry, the 180, right?
180 rule.
The 180, yeah, not the 360, the 180. But yeah, immediately that's like, okay, they don't know what they're doing. Right there, right then and there.
It tells you everything you need to know. No, absolutely, and that's something that I find with it. Like, oh, this is great. This is a great shot back here. I literally had this at the training show with somebody I've been working with for a while, who's very, very good, by the way. He's like, and we were in a difficult room with this new training facility, and we're trying to figure out our positioning and everything before we start training students, like our intern that's on the line right now. And he's like, this works really good over here. I'm like, no, you're across from the other camera. If they square up the other way, you both have backs, and I've just lost 50% of my, like I've just lost all my shots, and hard cam. And there's too many people in the way for hard cam. So
there are times that it can work.
Yeah, but
it has to be. It has to be strategic, and you have to understand why you're doing it. But
exactly,
that's,
not
that's
just
a whole
because.
other thing.
Absolutely. But it's we've had this with Exodus where it's a very there's not a lot for our room. We've been figuring out that space for literally 2 years at this point, and we got it pretty down. We understand how to shoot the room, and it's not. And that's why I don't want to switch people out, because I'm like, these two understand how to move in this room. And they understand what the wrestlers do. They understand this kind of thing. And, oh, God, this is going to be a production podcast, guys. I'm sorry.
We're supposed to be talking about news here, Sword.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, completely threw you off.
Oh, no. But anyways.
Tina just posted in chat, sitting under the production and commentary learning tree with Sorg and Rich.
Yes. And then Tina is the one that gets us thank you. And by the way, thank you for bringing me to Defy so I can meet Tina in person up in Seattle. I was a huge fan of you guys at Defy. Nice. So I appreciate that when wrestling and work bring me two Mayhemers like that.
Right.
So
hi, Tina.
About TNA also, Tina did mention that the location for the live TNA on Thursday is in the same town as WWE Saturday Night Main Event this weekend.
Is this the Atlanta loop everybody's doing?
Oh, it must be, right? Yeah, aren't they at center? I think they're at center stage, right?
So they're there. I think AEW's nearby. I think even MLW is doing a show this weekend as well out there.
Oh, maybe okay, yeah, maybe it's MLW that's at center stage.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, that's February. Never mind.
I think because I think AEW's at some kind of basketball court or something too, right? No, NXT's at center stage if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So. And I love that too. I'm appreciating both NXT and AEW doing these interesting concert venues right now. I love the different look. I think some companies, including Ring of Honor, I always loved Ring of Honor in the small venues, and I feel like they lose that by being just a tack on for AEW. I do appreciate Ring of Honor for what it is, and also I'm one of the sickos that pays for it so I can just see how old people that I worked with are doing, on their come up.
Right.
And also Athena's fucking amazing, so that's worth it alone. In a lot of cases, but yeah, I have a big sometimes it just works in a smaller venue, and
the energy is there. You can't get that energy in a big room.
No,
especially when that big room's empty. You know what I mean? And that's not a knock on anybody. Yeah. That's just the reality is at this point most decent wrestling companies can draw 300 to 500 people usually. And if you put 300 to 500 people that want to be there, that give a shit in a smaller room, it's going to sound good and it's going to look good.
Absolutely. And don't you rather have wouldn't you rather fill a room and have more people that want to come back next time that missed it and FOMO them than have a big one you don't fill?
I'll go as far as to say this: the old when TBS had Crockett, when Crockett was on in Georgia before that, and they were in the TV studio. There were 50 people in there.
Yeah.
And they were loud and they were into it, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
you take that, and you put those 50 people in an arena, and it's just bleh. You know what I mean? So
listen,
being in a small venue is not necessarily
you start
bad.
counting the empty seats in the crowd.
Yeah. Well, it's like our Thursday training shows. We'll get 30 people in there, and it's amazing energy. You know what I mean? And that's all we need. And also that's all we expect. That's all we need, and just something.
All we need
good.
is Tupac family there.
All we need is Tupac family for sure. Hey, they bring the noise, and the energy themselves. So, and it's great because most of our audience is online anyways for those, right? And these guys are getting exposure and they're getting their reps, and that's and all of us are getting our reps, and that's worthwhile. So, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll continue talking. Real quick, and then I got to get the Patreon.
Real quick, I want to make a correction.
Okay.
Both TNA and Saturday Night Main Event are in San Antonio.
Right.
I think maybe the loop is next week then. For everybody,
because Sean's going to be involved on something.
Maybe
down
it's
in San Antonio.
Maybe it's Monday to. I don't know.
Monday they're in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's them, NXT, and then I think AEW is also in Atlanta. So and MLW maybe Sunday or something. So there was some Atlanta mega weekend or something like that. Somebody put out as a liner for that on Twitter or something. So. Anyways, thank you everybody that does support this show. We'd love to put this audience in a small room as our cheerleaders, but unfortunately they're all kind of all over the country, so we can't really do that as easily. But in the meantime, thank you everybody that does support this show on patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show. We do have a Patreon only feed where you'll hear us in between the shows BS about stuff, with intern John and whoever's left over from the awesome cast. Actually, I'm making it just one Patreon feed between the two shows. So especially
I got weirded out because I saw Mayhem Show on the the Patreon feed, and I'm like, it's 6:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, you know what? Screw it. It's just the Sorgatron Media. It's podcast night. Let's just let you guys have all of it. Then I don't have to remember to forget to reset it for Mayhem Show and things like that. Let's make it easier on everybody right now. And you get a little bit extra. You see what was in the other show. That maybe you're not interested in, because unfortunately we talk about wrestling far too much on the Tech Podcast, especially after the show when we're a little looser with it. And we had Katie on, who helped out with Exodus this past weekend too, and made a lot of new wrestle friends and got to hang out with her buddy PB Smooth and everything like that. But anyways, thank you everybody to support this show. You do get the post show and everything over there, and you do help keep this show running, and you guys have been supporting us for so long here. Everybody at the fan of the show level, do it with me guys on the Zoom. Bo diggity!
Woo! Diggity, everybody.
As well as Team Hamfist, Tupac family, Bubba Brewer of the Triple B Podcast and APWF, Jason French, Dave Prof Bob Bonder, that's over there on the line as well, and lost my space. Rats in a Trench Coat, Tony Kincaid from over there at RWA, The Riz, and our manager level, Bradley, who has
Rick, I got a question for you, Rick. Last year, I did this. I got this picture of our friend Bradley.
That's Riz's shot on the video camera. That's a screenshot from the iPay-per-view.
Scale of 1 to 10, how is that shot?
I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay, good. I'll take the 7. I'll take the 7.
I'll give it a 7.
It's a passing, and I'm going to sit over here because again, my head movement is right there, and it looks very bad. So, Rich, but I'll take that 7.
Rich, since you're new to the lore here, Bradley is kind of our local Pittsburgh ringside Rosie, which actually Pittsburgh also had a ringside Rosie, but you get the idea.
Hat Pin Mary. You've heard of Hat Pin Mary, right?
Is that what it was in your neck of the woods?
I mean, there's different ones, and I might even be thinking of hockey, but there was a woman with a hat pin. Somebody come close and she. You know what I mean? That might have been a hockey fan. I'm not sure now.
Yeah. So, but anyways, thank you everybody that support the show, even though we literally show your ass every week on the show for supporting us.
It's right there.
Anyways, where were we at? Are we still on production?
News. Aren't we supposed to be talking about news?
Well, that was the big news. We'll get to some more of it here in the show. I want to kind of more focus on you here, Rich.
Well, all right.
Yeah, there you go.
Now I'm shy.
There you go. Now really, you shy? I don't.
No, I am. I'm a terrible introvert. I really am.
Mm-hmm. You're like me. You're just kind of don't come out until you have a microphone in front of you, right?
Yeah, and when I started broadcasting, it was radio, right? Like I wanted to be a hockey announcer on the radio, and I thought, oh, maybe TV, but a sports guy on TV, you're doing like opens and you're not like on TV a lot, or you're not on camera a lot. So, it was fine, right? Like, but put me on camera for like I don't know. I have a hard time with it. I don't know why. I just do.
Yeah, we've talked about this off and on a little bit before because you are well, I think for a while you were doing baseball. I think down in
hockey.
Yeah, it was usually hockey. Why did I think it was baseball for a bit?
Well, I mean, I did a little bit of indie ball, but I spent about 15 years in minor pro hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, and of course, so you said you were in radio and stuff. So you're more of you've come into like kind of the classic sports broadcasting kind of angle on this, correct?
Yeah, I started out, I grew up in a baseball town. I grew up in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. So we had the Pawtucket Red Sox who moved a couple years ago, and the stadium's being torn down, which is a whole other thing. It's why I wear an Astros hat now, because I can't root for the Red Sox anymore. But no, I came from a baseball town, loved baseball, loved hockey. Grew up a big Bruins fan, going to the old Boston Garden, and played a little bit in high school. I wasn't any good, but just loved the game and wanted to be around the game. And one day I just kind of got it in my head, like I could be a hockey play-by-play guy, and kind of went after that and was able to do it, like I said, professionally for, about 15 years or so. But, between doing play-by-play and being a PR guy, like the media relations guy for a couple of teams. But yeah, my background is in radio. And I actually, like, my first broadcast gig was like college radio, playing, doing like a punk rock show and playing punk and indie and stuff like that. And then, then that kind of, I could keep doing radio. I could announce hockey games. So, I guess I came from, if you want to call it like this, the sportscaster background, but I'm self-taught. I really, I never really had classes or whatever. I just kind of did it and learned and picked people's brains that did it and, got to whatever level I got to.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people that have come around, at least until more recently, they seem to be like, they were like, hey, they needed a guy in an indie show, and that's kind of, they kind of grew up from there, and they either kind of stayed on a level or trying to figure out how to expand that. You mentioned Joe Dombrowski, like I think is a very classic example of that he's kind of created his own niche even outside of announcing, with his kind of productions and such, right? So So how did you cross the threshold into wrestling?
It's bizarre. So I was in.
Isn't it usually?
It always is. Like, and it's funny how like the things that happen that kind of get you to like quote unquote the higher level or like the big leagues, so to speak. Like it was just totally by accident. You know what I mean? Like I said, my goal for the longest time was to call games in the NHL. I would still love to. It's never going to happen. I would still love to, but I was working in Rio Grande Valley, McAllen, Texas, for a hockey team. We also had arena football down there, and a friend of mine was a ring announcer and did like an indie wrestling show. And I'd always been into wrestling. I'd been a fan for a long time. Kind of dropped out of it during the Attitude Era, and a lot of the that wasn't for me, that whole style necessarily. But anyway, I kind of got bitten by the bug, and I thought, well, maybe I'll ref, right? Like that'd be fun, like learn how to referee or whatever. I moved to Houston to take a job at the time they had an American Hockey League team there, and I moved up there, and there was an NWA promotion that was running that I sort of knew the guy that ran it through arena football of all things, and one thing led to another, and I went and I ended up becoming the ring announcer. I refed. I did a few matches as a ref and kind of learned some of the basics or whatever. But they kind of pushed me into ring announcing, so I did that. And being in Houston, that's where Booker T's school is. Another friend of mine was doing some stuff with them, and he went on tour with the Globetrotters and recommended me to Booker, and went and I did that, and that was really like. I'd never called a wrestling match. I'd never done play-by-play. And Booker's like, yeah, come on. You're a broadcaster. You can do it. So I was like, all right. So I figured it out. And, next thing I knew, I was in WWE, which is just the craziest thing that, like, I didn't belong there at the time. Like I was still figuring stuff out. It's funny, like, and I don't want to sound like I'm an egomaniac by saying this, but like I should be there now. If this makes sense. I'm not saying that I should be there, but like based on my understanding of how to do it, I should be there now. I shouldn't have been there then. Does that make sense?
It's like you got the opportunity too early in the evolution, right?
Exactly.
Which is kind of fascinating, So, but I guess if you're in Booker T's promotion, I guess they're going to pull from that before anything else from the lower.
I mean,
right?
now the funny thing is too with that is now they're like the WWE ID, and they have guys coming down there, and he's been doing stuff, having NXT guys come in. I mean, it's 2011, 2012, whatever it was that I was there. Booker was trying to do that then, and they just didn't want to do it for like not his promotion, but WWE didn't want to send guys out to the indies.
Yeah.
And now they, when they announced that thing, I texted Booker. I was like, no, we've only been saying we should do this for the last 12 years. He's like, yep, overnight success.
Well, it's interesting now because it feels like there's these paths, right? Like before it was like OVW was the path into like WWE, right? Which became NXT. Became that path where I guess Florida Championship Wrestling and then NXT,
right?
And then now we have like this ID thing. So now you have like, well, if you go to this school, you have a better chance of getting here, But but also, obviously personally, I'm seeing with NWA's territory system with Exodus, like it feels like that's the other way in, right? Is they do have these feeder indies in this whole territory concept that they're doing now, which I feel is much different than like I know it's made to reflect what NWA territories used to be, but it's a different animal. You know what I mean? So like it's not direct, it's not a WID. They have the name. There's just like a interesting loose connection. But still, you see those guys. Like you see guys like PB Smooth there, like going Pretty Boy Smooth there, like definitely like getting fed in. Guys from the Joe Costanza. God, I'm sure everybody's up. Sorry, I'm under the weather, so I'm not good with stuff today. But
I'm a little out of it too. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, it's sub-zero temperatures up there for you too.
It's 17 degrees in Boston right now.
Do you have your Dunkin' iced coffee with you though?
I'm not a big Dunkin' guy anymore. You know what I mean? I really don't drink coffee at all anymore.
Yeah. I'm on like cup 7. So trying to just keep going right now because I had a meeting this morning. But anyways, but yeah, like it feels like there's more defined paths to get where you want to go than there were 5 years ago even, right?
That there's I think a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that Vince isn't there anymore.
Yes.
He had his very limited view or whatever of kind of what he thought a wrestler should be. Hunter's obviously got a very different idea of that. I think what you saw OVW, FCW, even the performance centers, that you saw guys that kind of had a similar look and were trained to work a certain way. So everybody was just kind of the same. Now that you're drawing from different places, the basics are the basics. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But how you develop that and how you interpret that and how you make that your own is going to depend on who you were trained by and that type of stuff. And so I think what I'm trying to say is now you're getting like a mix of those different flavors that like you have people that look a little different or that maybe do something a little bit differently that's not inside that rigid box of kind of what WWE wanted for such a long time.
Yeah.
It's good. I think it's a good thing. The biggest key to that is just getting reps. And that's another thing with having these, shows or schools or whatever that are, that are blessed, I guess, by WWE at this point, is that, you can go around and in theory, you can work a lot more. And that was the beginning of FCW and the old Coconut Loop in Florida, working all the little towns. It's just to be out there. It's just to be wrestling 3-4 days a week in front of a crowd, because that's where you learn. You don't learn just by training in the school.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
You do, but you need to get out in front of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we talk about every week here about this weekly show. Like, I feel like these kids are getting like weekly reps versus other schools I've seen over the years. Is like seeing like maybe they'll get on the show once a month. Is just I feel like they're leaps and bounds beyond other trainees that I've seen in the past, right? So like that makes all the difference there. In front of people, not just like training matches, right? Like in front of people, in front of cameras, understanding that concept now, because there's so many people who are like 5, 10, 6, sometimes 10 years in, and I still like know hard cams over there. It's really fascinating.
I had a few times where I was like whispering that, but I feel like now.
see, I train them well around here, Rich.
Yeah, good. I feel like now you see these, like these branches off of into WWE type situations, where before it was just like you get this pamphlet that says, "Hey, you could train with me. I was the fourth guy in the casket, bring the casket out for the Undertaker. Go train with me."
As seen on WWE TV.
As seen on WWE, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of jump off here for a second, but like, it drives me nuts when you see like same thing, like a guy who's like, he's like security or like an extra or whatever. He's like, made my Raw debut last night. No, you fucking didn't. You did not. like stop. Just stop. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to be on there and getting the face on there and be like, hey, I'm doing stuff and getting opportunities. We have a friend that often is a paramedic or security, for instance, or maybe took an RKO from Randy Orton in Madison Square Garden. That's still a big moment. And hey, you're somebody that they trusted to do that.
Sure, well, sure.
Yeah.
But
if you take it,
don't up your rate over it. Maybe.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So, but anyways, but it's really interesting to see what's happening with that kind of situation there. So, and also seeing places doing it the right way. Like I said, working with you, between Defy and Warrior, I never worked with anybody like that before outside of the sporadic TNA Twitch stream, right? So it's really interesting to see that, and I think. The more wrestlers see that organization coming up, the more they'll be ready to go to that next step too.
Yeah, and it's it's good to me. It's good for the indies too. You know what I mean? You've got for better or for worse, it seems like everybody that was even a marginal star is getting snapped up pretty quick, right? Signed to deals, and you don't see them, right? Because there's only so many people you can put on TV.
Yeah.
So, that's another aspect of kind of, it all self-regulates eventually, but it just, it's surviving that time when there's that kind of, and it's always in flux. There's always stuff that's changing, but I feel like we're getting to a point now where like you've got TNA that's strong. You've got, AEW, which is sometimes draws, I guess, pretty well. And, WWE that's doing record numbers now. That's good for the business.
Absolutely.
There's no complaints there at all.
We've been talking the last couple of weeks about how everybody gets sucked up out of the indies. This happened 5 years ago with the launch of AEW. I think we're going through another pass of it now with the WWID and everything. New Japan has had their roster rated several times and survived and created new stars. I think it just creates new opportunities for new faces to get out there that maybe didn't get that chance, didn't get that spot. Yep. It just. I think it just brings more cream and gets more people to figure it out because they have to. Somebody has to fill that spot, right?
Yep.
And it really kind of people that were kind of like sliding on that mid-car indie status gets that shot, and somebody like a Defy gives them an opportunity, and they get in front of everybody on a different platform, or GCW or any of these other, I don't want to call them super indies, but yeah, they kind of are kind of this, like, I guess that's a very 2000s term.
The well-known indie federations.
Upper indies, let's say.
Yeah. They're just speaking from experience. There are places that, if you want to say do it right. To do it right, and there are other places that are just kind of a little bit more chaotic, and I guess they all have their place. But and I think just kind of in some ways, maybe I don't know if you want to call it natural selection or whatever. The ones that are good and that have have a framework in place and have quality control, for maybe a lack of a better term, like. Those are the ones that stand above, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. When there's thought and there's logic and there's reasons that make sense that are put behind something, it's gonna be a better product. And that extends to, like, if you're putting that much work into making your booking make sense, then obviously you're going to put that much work into making the production look good. So it all works together.
That's been an interesting thing that I've been threading the needle on before, because I've actually been thinking a lot about this in the last couple of days. After recent experiences between working with the promotions we worked with, I'm helping with Enjoy a little bit now, in Cleveland. It felt like for many, many years I was shooting wrestling that just happened to be happening in front of my cameras, versus now it's like, oh no, we're part of the process, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of those things I've seen from the promotions, because I've often said when I went to Warrior, I was like, oh, this is the way it can be, and it's actually less stressful than the promotions I work with back home. Because like some of them, and they had been long gone, but they were just a nightmare to work with, on organization and things like that, and just like communication and everything. And it just the show happens, and I remember there's one comment is like, "Shut up, just hit record," when it comes to wrestling. It's literally something somebody told me. And then I didn't know, because I don't know what's out there, man. That's also why I tell people, get the fuck out of your town.
It can be something as simple as like just having a graphic or two to put up in between matches, so it's not just an empty ring. Like, what do you talk about? What are you know what I mean? Like, if you're an announcer, what do you do at that point? Oh, okay, well, at that point you're just kind of dicking around. Like, have some kind of setup. You know what I mean? Have some kind of idea. Okay, like, we need a minute between matches. All right, let's run a 60-second spot of something. Let's push merch, or let's whatever, run a pro, just something, so it's not just an empty screen. But sometimes it's so easy that it's like it gets overlooked a lot. And a little bit of like, and this is there's two things on this. One thing I kind of say is, my mission was always with the locals from when I started in 2012 as the head director, was like, what can I do to make this look more like TV? We know we won't get there within our limits, but more like TV, so people kind of accept it. And to say, like, I remember Samoa Joe came in, and I think I was in the crowd at the time, against Ray Rowe, who's now a Viking or a motorcycle guy, whatever he is now. And they're like, oh, Joe must not be doing good if he's here in right, in this promotion in Pittsburgh, right? And like, that's a perception that always stuck in my head when I moved to production, because I'm like, how do we make this look closer to TV so that the fans respect it more and give it a chance, right? The thing too, like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be like TV. Like, you can do it differently, but there are ways to just put a quote unquote professional presentation that you can tell somebody actually just put a little bit of thought into, as opposed to just like, let's turn the camera on and go.
Make it acceptable. You talk about the audio situation earlier, right? Like, first thing, how many peaked mics do you get? I know I've got you a couple of times as I was figuring out your volumes, things like that. So, and the other thing is, even we had a brand new, like, trainee was like, hey, we lost our referee tonight for weather or something. You're going to be doing this training show, 6 matches tonight. And I was like, okay, this is what the horseshoe is, which I learned from Jimmy Corderas doing his seminar. And also, you are part of production. Like, referees don't get that. I'm like, you are part of production. You direct these people, to where they need to be. When you raise the hand at the end, when they're doing a hold against the wall, or something like that, like, you get
how
the
much
faces
time's left
out there. Yeah, how much time is left? We still have to resort how we're going to do cues in the new place, I think. But we had a system.
It can be as simple as somebody like at ringside taking their hat off.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
One promotion has a hockey stick they raise above the curtain. So, like, things like that.
You're ringside. You put a pencil behind your ear. There's a million ways to do it.
Oh, absolutely. But it's also we're in a new venue that we're still figuring it out. So there's a lot on the checklist right now. But stuff like that. I think that's just things to consider. So, well, we're here with Rich Bocchini. We're getting into the weeds on production here, because
I hope we're not losing people. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm hoping. No, this is what I do from time to time, because this is what this show's become. It was like people that were fans of wrestling to people that actually kind of work around it now. So
like
Riz,
I was gonna say, like, before I was a fan, and
Yes.
then I went to wrestling shows.
And then I said, Riz,
and
can you hold
then
this camera for me?
Sorg put me on DVD
I was like,
table.
yeah, Riz, can you sell DVDs
then-
for me? Hey, can you hold this camera? I'm short. And then I'm like, hey, you're getting pretty good at this, Riz. Can you do it again? Hey, can you do
And here,
graphics?
press this button.
Hey, you want to learn? Hey, Riz, you want to learn instant replay? Because we were trying to figure that out too.
I
That's
still
how
can't
we
do
go.
that, by the way.
That's how we go. Yeah, we gotta get you on Thursdays. You gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta quit that other thing you're doing.
But I think along those along the same lines, like during those 880 shows at the end, people come up to us and go, "Thank you for making us look good."
yeah,
And we're like, we're only half like. You're the people that we're shooting, so we have to make you.
and
look
I'll
good
tell you that
in
they
the
will.
process.
When you work at higher promotions, they tell you the same thing. Like when you're at other promotions, they tell you the same thing. The ones you see on TV, they will tell us the same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's because they know what the damn formula is. Anyways, well, real quick, I want to give a shout out here. Again, we mentioned our friends at 880 Wrestling again every Thursday, and of course we do have, the Thursday night fights, and they did just have the ball drop here live on our YouTube and all the other things. Hey, if you're getting like weird like commercials for like retirement homes somebody was telling about today while they were watching the Den of Desire ball drop show from Friday night, we do have an option over at indiewrestling.us, indiewrestling.network, because they get commercials. I forget, I pay for premium so I don't see this stuff, but the YouTube commercials are pretty god awful, right? But we do have an option for you over at indiewrestling.network. You can go over there and check out all the shows for 880 Wrestling. Over 100 shows we've done with them since February of 2023, by the way, including the weekly Thursday night fights, their monthly shows. They had some no rings that we did. They had some other special shows that they did. Again, it's a school promotion. It's kind of got wild. I got in the city paper last week, and now we're in the South Side in Pittsburgh proper, working with the guys at Penn Brewery. Oh, hey, I actually wanted to. Where's that at? Where did I put that? I'm going to forget everybody's name now because this is one thing I love because I grabbed this because I didn't grab this last
Is that a new one?
No, this is the one from December show, but they were still selling some leftovers at on Friday's show. So like, Missy, your mission is to make sure I get one of these because I got the first two, and I love that we work with a promotion. Enjoy was the first one to do this at Taco Mania that I saw, and I didn't get a chance to get a can of that there. But also I got to make sure it's something I can drink because I can't drink like IPAs and stuff because my sinuses go out. But this is a nice Oktoberfest from our friends Stefan and our friends at Penn Brewery, since they've been doing shows over there, including that beautiful show with the skyline. By the way, the matches are going to get reposted very soon from that. That was the World Series show we did a few months ago. We're on top of the parking garage with the Pittsburgh skyline, and the most beautiful show. All respect, Rich, to Defy and Warrior. What the most beautiful show background that I've ever been at. But yeah, this is the Unholy Holiday 2, Brandon St. James from Penn Brewery. It's a wonderful Oktoberfest, and I haven't drinking this one yet. I can't remember if I had. Yeah, I had one of these. I think the first one I actually drank. The other one was a can I found on the floor, so I grabbed it.
Oh, floor
So
beer.
this is a drinking
That's
show
so
now.
fun.
No, I didn't drink the one from the floor.
You drank stuff from the
No, I didn't know.
floor.
I got the
Floor
can so I could
beer.
put it on my shelf as a memento.
As
I
long as
like
you're
to-
not on the floor with the beer.
I like to call IPAs "isn't piss available."
Ooh. Yeah, Keith
I like
Hawk.
IPAs.
Keith Hawk. He was like, "Here, buddy, you look stressed. Let me give you a beer at the end of the night." And I'm just like, bro, I'm gonna have a headache for 2 days if I drink this. I got like an allergic reaction to like heavy beers. I can drink like the lagers.
I recently had a Guinness non-alcoholic, which actually wasn't bad. It was like it was the closest that I've had like in any beer that was what it's supposed to be. It wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, because I remember those were a little heavy when I tried them before. It just like I'll feel it right up in here, and that's why I'm Yingling and White Claws, and then they yell at me in Michigan when I ask for a Yingling. They yelled at me.
You can get that in. I know, like they have Yingling in Florida now.
I get it in California.
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
on the beach in California.
I went on the wagon in 2013, 14.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a drop of alcohol for like 7 years.
Respect.
And, just the past couple years, like, I'll go and I'll have a beer or two, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah, your low points.
I put the brakes on, but I can actually like enjoy a beer now and be, oh, this is a good beer, as opposed to just fucking sucking them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I try to only drink socially, and you guys are on Zoom with me, so this counts. Anyways. But no,
we are on social media. So
like I said, we're having a lot of fun here. I want to talk about it a little bit because, again, thanks to you, I got to have the Defy Wrestling experience for a couple of shows up there in Seattle, and one of my favorite rooms. It is the loudest. It is definitely one of my favorite rooms that I've ever witnessed wrestling, let alone worked in. And of course you're very involved there. I know Defy has a big show coming up here, 100th, which is the 8th year anniversary, I believe.
Yep.
And you're pretty much the voice of it. Tell me a little bit about your experience there.
I mean, you're right. The room, Washington Hall, is just there's a feel. You know what I mean? And I've talked to different wrestlers that have come through there, and they walk in, they're like, there's a vibe here, and that's, you can't create that. It's either there or it's not. Great room. The fans are like legitimately probably the loudest that I've heard anywhere.
Yeah. It felt louder than WrestleMania, honestly.
What's that?
It feels louder than WrestleMania, honestly.
And the fans are into it. They're supportive. It's a core group of fans. We've created new wrestling fans out there, which is very, very cool. But yeah, we've got the 8th anniversary show coming up on February 7th, and it's looking like it's going to be a sellout. We're very, very close at this point. I'm just, I'm psyched. Kent is putting the belt on the line against Ricky Starks. We've got Paul Walter Hauser coming out. He challenged Joey Janela. There was a great video that Paul, if you don't know who Paul Walter Hauser is, he's an actor. He was in Richard Jewell. I think he's in something on HBO or whatever.
He's the Stingray in Cobra Kai.
Okay, yeah, and he was also in I, Tonya. He was like the weird guy with the shady little mustache there that thought he was a kung fu guy or whatever it was. The Tanya Harding movie. So that's happening. Marina Shafir is supposed to put the belt on the line against Zamaya. A bunch of other great matches, and it's hard to believe that 8 years. We're to me, like, some promotions last a couple years and then that it kind of fizzles out. So the fact that 8 years later it's still going on, and that we're looking at a sellout, it's exciting, and it's cool to be part of it. I've taken on a bit more of a role. Like, I've been the play-by-play guy there for not since the very, very beginning, but very close to the beginning, since 2017 anyway. So being involved in that aspect of it was really cool. But over the last year or so, I've taken on more of a role in the office. I'm not booking matches, but Matt Farmer does that. But just a lot of the day-to-day business stuff. A lot of people probably don't realize what it takes to actually make a promotion run and to do it. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes. So it's cool. It's it's a different thing for me than I've done before. But I've got my hands on everything from the website to the booking travel, and you name it. I'm probably doing it. So 8 years, it's hard to believe. So I'm excited, looking forward to February the 7th.
No, it's very cool. I know that you guys have been part of like the what do you call it, the collective around some of the big shows and everything like that too. So it's cool to see like Defy getting out there, out of the Northwest and doing some really cool stuff around. And I think isn't there and there was a merger of sorts with was it Progress? I think
with
it was
Progress. Yeah. We work very closely with Progress. They've been great to work with. They just kind of let us run Defy as Defy. You know what I mean? There have been crossover stuff and bringing some of their guys over, but they generally just kind of let us. We run it as its own thing, but it's part of a larger umbrella, so that we have some support, financially, and then just other business aspects as well. So it's been good. It's growing a lot. There's been some growing pains, but I think we're getting past that, and the future looks bright for sure.
No, that's really cool, and especially now. Like I feel like so many promotions, whether locally, nationally, feel like you said, to kind of like drop off or kind of pull back, I guess is one way to put it. You know, the burnout is real. I don't know how many promoters I've seen, you know, first, you know, say, "Hey, are you okay?" day of the show. You know, basically every time I see them, you don't know how many times I go up to the promoter and be like, "You remember to breathe?" You know, because I want to make sure they're not losing their shit, so I don't lose my shit in the middle of the show. But anyways, but it you know, especially you know, it feels like this is a promotion that runs at such a high level, you know, akin to what we were doing at Warrior, you know, is just, it was unbelievable what they were pulling off there. You know, it's unbelievable to see what Defy pulls off, you know, and guys on those levels too, you know. So and even like I saw you're working with Deadlock Pro. That's another one of those that I think is on that level that you hear about, right?
Oh, absolutely, for sure. It's excellent, like. Kind of what I was talking about before, things that are thought out, logic, reasons.
Yes.
Like, you know, from the booking to why certain things happen and just the production value in general. Yeah. I mean, those guys are great to work with. I work with Caprice Coleman and Veda Scott doing commentary there. I can't say enough good things about Deadlock. They've been great to work with. If you haven't checked them out yet, definitely check out Deadlock. Good stuff all the way around.
People keep telling me about them, and is it? I believe they're a promotion that like they started as like a bunch of podcasters that evolved into doing a promotion. Because I got people people like, "Why haven't you started your own promotion?" I was like, I'm not that crazy.
It's interesting because it's the only place that I've ever been where after the show there are people lined up to meet the guys that run it.
Yes,
like legitimately, again,
that aren't like wrestlers, you know.
That aren't wrestlers.
Yeah,
like, seriously. I guess they, you know, they did whatever podcast where they would review stuff and video games and all wrestling centric, and they're funny. And yeah, they just decided one day that they wanted to start running stuff. So they had run a few shows, and then eventually gave me a call, and we talked. And I looked at what they were doing, and it was okay. Yeah, let's give it a shot. And it's been 2 years now, I think, a little more than 2 years I've been with them. Like, great guys, great place to work, and great matches. It's, you know, it's fun, and they do it right. So that's you know, that's important to me. And I don't want to come off sounding egotistical or whatever, but like, I don't want to do crap wrestling. I don't want to do garbage wrestling. There's a place for it. I understand that there's an appetite for it, and that's fine. You know, and there's definitely a place for a promotion like an 880 for example, right? Where guys are learning, right? And right there, you need those places. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like I wouldn't be involved in anything like that, but you know, it's between a shoot job and, you know, I got married again and travel, you know, all that stuff. You kind of, I had to focus. Okay, like, what am I going to do? I don't want to just run myself completely thin. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of kind of picking, and you know, you want it to be the right fit. I don't want to do it just to do it, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely, and you know, that's, you know, and to me, like when I talk about it in 880. You know, some people have been there for a minute and then start going to bigger promotions, right? And someone's like, "Oh, they're only here for a second." I was like, "Yeah, good. Nobody should stay here. Almost nobody should stay here except for MV because he owns the place, right? Like the whole idea is, you know, we got guys that like have been there and now they work for like every promotion in the area and starting to branch out more. Like they're in that next phase because they got something and got featured, and everybody says, "I want that."
You know,
guy.
a lot of times that, you know, those smaller shows like that are, I mean, it's the grassroots, right? Like you need somewhere to learn, you need somewhere to train, you know, and that's not a knock on anybody that's there. You know
that's a reason. That's a reason you're there. And even the production, we use it to prep people. Literally, we had somebody warming up their graphic skills so they can go do the big show on Saturday, right? Like, I think you need that. We need that on our sides because you know. We can't try stuff out and hope it works on a big big show. You know,
you need to be able to go somewhere and make mistakes and fuck up and not have it be the end of the world. I'll go as far to say that there are promotions that are out there that don't need to be online. They don't need to stream their matches. They shouldn't be streaming their matches. You know what I mean?
No.
I think people need to learn without the pressure of like, okay, you think about the poor Boom Goes the Dynamite kid, right? Like, you remember that, right? Like, nobody ever should have saw that, ever.
No.
But now that kid, like, if he got a job on ESPN right now, he's forever the fucking Boom Goes the Dynamite kid. Like, he's never gonna shed that.
Yeah.
He's gonna have that on him for the rest of his fucking life if he ever did broadcasting. I don't know what he's doing now, but you know what I mean? There should be places. I thank God that when I was starting out doing hockey, that wasn't online. That was fucking terrible. It was awful. You know what I mean? And it would be, I don't want to. I go back and I listen to it and I cringe at this point. Like, there's no reason for some of that stuff to be out there.
Same with early days of this podcast too. So thankfully nobody was listening, so it's all right. But it is still out there.
The thing is, that's true with everything, though. If you're just starting it off, you're gonna suck.
Yeah,
that's reality. So if you, I think I don't know where I heard someone say this, but embrace the suck.
Yes.
If you're starting off, if you're starting off, you're like, this is the first time I run camera on a live show. You're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. You learn. Yep. And it's good that you're learning in a very small thing, very small place where, yes, it's great that people are watching it, but it's not, if you mess up, it's not going to kill your career.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we label, like, this is a training show. This is a training show.
Yeah.
You see that academy in the corner, we put an ad up. We make sure the announcers say it over and over again and say, hey, this is starting. This kid's new. This is the,
and the people, a lot of that's, if the fans that are going to are respectful of that and they understand what's going on, it's, it's, you go to a single A baseball game, you don't, if the guy making the throw from third base throws it over the first baseman's head, you're like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Now, if you're watching the Astros and the Red Sox and that happens, that's fucking bum, as it should be. You know what I mean?
Because he's getting paid a lot of money to miss that call, right?
Right. Hey, Rick, we're in Pittsburgh. We understand.
We're used to
we're
it.
Practically, we're practically single A. Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
And there's so many good players that just, Hayes and then Sawinski, like another. They're not going to be there. They're going to be the Dodgers or the Yankees or something. That sucks.
Yeah, there's literally billboards. There's literally please sell the team billboards around town now. So somebody's putting money into that. But anyways,
well, one thing real quick, when you were mentioning Defy, and you said that, it used to be this guy as seen on WWTV like 5 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
But now it's like, here is a top star who's currently on Dynamite, who's now at this show. Here's Swerve. Here's Moxley.
Yeah, the first show I did with you guys was like Moxley and Tom Lawler, which is like my favorite match of all time they've got to produce. Oh my God, that was amazing. We had a bit because I'm helping Scotty with we're doing live switches for Enjoy, so you guys get it a little quicker. And there was I think TME the main event was I forget who they were taking on at the time, but there was just like the lighting was like again Scotty I know's in line with you guys, helped you out with some stuff too, but like he's in that same mindset and gets the camera thing and the look, and we're in a venue where they've done the lights correctly, and they're at Mr. Smalls, it's just like, oh my God, this, like, I got that feeling I did doing that match just from like the sweat popping off of that. In that match, in the Moxley match, it was blood.
Blood and sweat. Yep.
Yeah.
I remember we got the spray of the blood. Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was just that artistic violence kind of thing, right?
Yep.
And it's and I love all that. I mean, me, like I've done like New Fear City. I've done I love everything. I love the shit. I love the dirty shit. I love, like, I want to go see Midget Wrestling this weekend because it's coming to town. I love all of it. I love the thing. I love going to, when I was first traveling, I went to see Tennessee Wrestling when I was down in Cookeville. Like I saw some crazy thing with 10 fans in the audience and everybody was bleeding everybody in Sun City, California, just because. Like I'm here for all of it, because to me, I put a tweet out that I think I did the math that I watch about 12 hours of televised wrestling every week. But again, I want to see
how you do it.
I don't know how I do it either. I'm working through a lot of it too. it's good background and just like, oh hey Lee Marty, I know that guy, stuff like that.
Right.
But it is like, it's tape study for me, and I love it, and I want to see what my old friends are doing, and I want to see what this guy like I worked with that one time on a Warrior show is doing, because like I watch and like Missy will remember like meeting Will Ospreay, and how fun he was backstage and everything, right? Like we have a different kind of connection, and it's so much fun, but also like, oh God, look what WWE's doing with the drone, Grizz. And also, whenever something happens, these guys are all like, when are we getting a drone? When are we getting an earpiece for a ref? Like, here's one for $80 at Walmart. I'm like, guys, settle down. Like, settle down.
I just want to point out,
yes.
all of those mentions
were
from me.
Yes. Yes.
But by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't put over Enjoy. Like Scotty,
absolutely.
And Max, like those guys do a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's another one of those places where there's thought behind everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And to me, that's important. There needs to be one of the things that I told Max when we were doing Fest Wrestling in Gainesville, and he would do color with me, and one of the things that I would just always harp on, I'd be like, just give me a reason for why X, Y, or Z is happening.
Mm-hmm.
It can be the most fucking ridiculous reason in the world, right? Because you don't have to go too far to suspend your disbelief in wrestling, but if you don't give some kind of plausible reason to me, anyway, the way that I think, if there's not some slither of just logic, the whole thing collapses in on itself, and you just lose. To me, you just lose the whole magic of the whole thing. So, simple logic goes a long way, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Great stuff there. Hey, we had some comments from the chat room I want to get to here before we hit our first break, our major break here, I guess. And Tina, of course, our big Defy connection here on the show. Tina is always filling us in on what you guys are doing up there, by the way. Make sure we don't miss out. Try to get it in the show. Get the mentions, because we love the stuff going on up there. And if you guys don't know, Defy, I think all the new shows are on Triller now, if I'm not mistaken.
We've been on Triller. Yep. The next show, as far as I know, we're on Triller. I need to confirm that with the UK office, but between Triller and then Demand Progress Plus is where the stuff has been running right now.
There you go. So a lot of opportunities to go check that stuff out. And again, it's worthwhile. Some of the best stuff out there in the indies. The first main event for Defy was Swerve versus Cody. She reminds us.
Cody Rhodes, yeah.
Yep. I think he lost the name for a while at that point, but
I think he was just Cody, wasn't he? Yeah.
Defy has been such a shining light in the wrestling scene that was kind of dim here in the Pacific Northwest for sure. If you're a viewer,
I feel like you see a lot of those like in the big city type situations where it's like with Defy and with Enjoy, starting up with Enjoy, that you see those. This was a bright spot in a very dim feature of professional wrestling, which is like big city wrestling.
One of the things that Defy actually did, Matt Farmer and Jim Gilmer, the two guys that founded it, they actually got like laws changed in Washington. There was a whole thing where, and I don't know like all the details to really drill it down, but basically, it's the stuff you always hear about with the commission and just a million hoops that you had to jump through. And they actually lobbied, I guess, the state, and ended up getting some laws changed. So now it's it's under entertainment as opposed to being treating it like MMA or boxing or whatever. That was a big part of that.
I'm going to have to contact them and see how we can enact that here in Pennsylvania. I know we got a new commissioner who I've met. I've had some good conversations with him. So maybe we can have a conversation.
I'm on the fence because I don't like the hassle of the commission when there's a million hoops to jump through. But I do like the idea that there's some sort of standard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good and bad, but like you know,
just little things like I know the biggest complaint here in Pennsylvania, and again, we're not as strict as New York or anything like that. You know,
New York's brutal.
I'm amazed some of the stuff that some colleagues of mine have. I didn't realize some things that were going on up there were not, you know, how things worked. Because I'm used to West Virginia, where it's the Wild West. You know, we can, you know, about anything can happen down there. But I know the biggest issue here is the doctor situation. Like, you have to have a doctor, whereas like maybe an EMT would be okay, practically and cheaper in the long run. And there was something going on around a couple years ago about trying to push for that. So maybe it's time to get some people together. But also, you got to make everybody actually work together in Pennsylvania and in Pittsburgh and stuff. So good luck. It's a whole other thing. Oh God.
You know, just to you know, you touch on the commission. Like, all right, so when there's no commission, it gives people too much. In some ways, it gives people too much leeway to do too much crazy shit.
Mm-hmm. I've done Detroit shows.
I'm not a fan of, you know, shit like glass or guys not being careful. Like, you know, if you're using I did a show once where somebody had like a board game. There was a fans bring the party weapon match, and it's a board and they whack somebody with a board game. But now you've got these little plastic pieces that are flying out. Like, you hit somebody in the eye. I know it sounds stupid, but if you hit somebody in the eye, you're fucked. If you dive out into the crowd and, you know, listen, I get it. We all get it. You go to a show, you expect that. What about just Joe Blow that says, I'm going to go to the wrestling show, and he's got some fucking moron diving off the turnbuckle out of the ring, and he falls over and fucking hits his head. Like, what then? Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you know, shit to think about that a lot of promoters, I find, don't.
I've attended shows in Detroit. Again, I work a lot in the Michigan area for my job, and have work promotions, of course. You know, it's like I'm like sitting there. I'm here seeing them like hit the post with the tube and then showering the other side of the crowd, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? You know, you're just asking for trouble there, right? And
in NXT once in 2014, probably early 2014. It was early in my run there. Somebody did it, you know, not even a real dangerous spot. They just went outside the ring and like somebody kind of went into the guardrail, and some woman that was sitting in the front, the guardrail hit her in the shin. And the next week, pre-show meeting, Terry Taylor told everybody, no more guardrail spots.
Yep.
And so I don't know if it was a lawsuit, if they settled or whatever. And then a couple years later, I was doing another show. It was a WrestleMania weekend, and it was an early morning show, and somebody whipped somebody into the guardrail, and there's, you know, a guy sitting there that was probably hungover as shit because he looked it. But anyway, the guardrail snaps back and hits him in the mouth and knocked his teeth out.
Oh,
why?
Jeez.
Why? You know what I mean? Like, was that worth doing that spot?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. You know, I like the crazy, but if you're putting the fans in danger, that's not okay. But hey, that's perfect. But you know, it's wild stuff. So, and but anyways, we're here. Rich Bocchini. We're going to take a quick break for you guys. We're going to come back and have some more conversation, and we're going to find out what everybody learned from wrestling this week. It's been probably a very educational week, and we'll be right back after I find my ad spot, because I changed everything 2 weeks ago.
We'll be back after this, folks, as quicker as you could say hullabaloo, hullabaloo, hullabaloo 20 times.
That's a fucking professional right there. We'll be right back.
I'm Eamon.
I'm Merlin.
And we're a gay.
And his NB.
Are you a reality television connoisseur?
Do you like it discussed from an LGBTQ lens?
If so, A Gay and His NB is the podcast for you.
Hear us break down all your favorite guilty pleasure reality shows from Bravo, Drag Race, and just about everything in between.
Listen to A Gay and His NB on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We are back, Wrestling Mayhem Show. The gang's all here, even some that you can't see. Like John Cena style and stuff, right? If you're a podcast, you can't see any of us. We're just figments of your imagination and voices in your head. And
we're not real.
Welcome to the party. No, we're fake as hell. So Riz is with me, Podner's with me, Rich is still with us as well, and we're gonna.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, that voice. The most pro voice you're probably hearing here this week. So there was a little news. I'm kind of curious. He is an old friend of the show, so I of course some curiosity of this, and plus some of my students at school. Oh, I'm teaching. For those who don't know, actually brought this up to me, so I know if people are walking up to me asking about it, everybody's paying attention. What is going on with Corey Graves in the last week? And I guess just for background here, and I think we do have an update for tonight. Allegedly, of course, we know Corey moved over to NXT. Pat McAfee popped up on Raw. They did a shuffle. They did the Netflix shuffle here a couple weeks ago. And he sounded a little miffed on Twitter about not being quote unquote famous enough for what he's been doing, and has been relegated to NXT. Which honestly, NXT is on network television now. I feel like that's a pretty okay spot to be at the moment. It's not like he's going to like Florida Championship Wrestling on what was the TV down there, Rich?
They were on Bright House.
Bright House, yes.
FCW. Yeah, I remember watching it a couple of my daughter has lived in Florida for 20 years or whatever, and I go down and visit her and be, FCW is on at like midnight on Sunday. I'm gonna check this out.
Let's go. Let's see the next generation.
Yeah. Yep.
In a warehouse somewhere with all these WWE posters. But yeah, and allegedly he wasn't on NXT last week. And I understand he did pop up on NXT tonight. I watched it after the show, obviously. Is that, can we confirm that chat room? I think the chat room had. Okay.
No, we can't. We can't. We can't. Yeah.
So, man, I get it. People, get mad about movements and things like that. And Corey Sterling, whatever you know him as, he's always been somebody who's very. I remember back in the day. Him being very honest about the indie wrestling scene here in the late 2000s and getting in a little bit of hot water with people. So, I'm not surprised at the comments from him, because he's somebody that speaks his mind. I think that's what he is very good at. And why he's in the position he is, to the way he presents himself, right? So I'm glad whatever is hold up, or this is entirely a work shoot to get us Pat McAfee versus Corey Graves, as somebody suggested, with a Michael Cole on a pole match at WrestleMania, which I am here for main event of night 1 in Las Vegas. I'm putting some bets on that. By the way, if I end up at WrestleMania this year, which I think I'm going to, because I'm kind of on a streak right now, and I love Vegas now after the Double or Nothing experience a couple years ago. Or was that last year? Whenever I did that. And I will put a bet down if that match happens. So, because that happens now. Anyways, how are we feeling about Corey and his quote-unquote situation here? Alleged situation here? Let's put that, because it's wrestling, and we don't know what's real.
And honestly, I gotta think it was real, because there was and I missed it, but I heard someone say, "Did they get Corey Graves on commentary?" So I gotta think.
What were the comments? I didn't catch them, because I saw the tweet right after the show started.
I forget exactly. It's like, or a lot of times wrestling's on in the background, or I'm watching it, but I'm not paying.
Dave, why aren't you listening to every word the commentary says?
Dave.
Jeez,
because I'm
sitting
not
right here
like I used to this one.
So
they start paying me, I'll pay more attention.
Oh, okay, I got you. Well, come down Thursday nights and we'll train you.
But no, I mean, I can see, like you said, I can see where Corey would be pissed. Went online, and someone said to him, "Okay, we think you're wonderful. We think you're great. We think you spoke up when you shouldn't have." I don't want to say lucky for him this isn't the Vince thing, but it's a new group he's with for being the higher ups, and they said, take a week off to cool your jets, and we'll put you back on NXT if you want to. Otherwise, there's the door.
Feels like a very HR conversation probably happening.
It does.
Around this.
It does. Yeah. So, but honestly, I wonder how much. And this is just me trying to get into mind if I had something like this.
Yeah.
Did they tell him you're going to NXT? I think he was on 1 week in NXT. He went home, vented to Carmella. I mean,
had a few too many beers at the pub down the street in the South Side.
Or something, I mean, literally, you're like, okay, maybe. And then you get home and like, this happened. And like, why did they treat you like this? Don't they know who you are? You were the lead person here. Why are they you shouldn't be treated like this. You should be treated better. A supportive spouse, saying you should not be treated this way.
Or other family member.
Exactly. Well,
right.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. And then all of a sudden you get it back up again. And you're like, you know what? You're right. And now what's different now versus in the past? In the past, you would just tell your friends and you yell and you scream and you do whatever and you get it out of your system. Now you have millions, I don't know how many followers. He has thousands of thousands of followers, and you tweet out, "Oh, I guess I'm not big enough to be on here." And then all of a sudden, like I said, HR, your boss, whoever, I don't know if Michael Cole's his boss or Michael Cole's over all the announcers.
Cole's not in the office anymore. I know that much.
Yeah, he's not the big.
He's having way too much fun to be in the office.
Oh yeah.
Which is why he's enjoying himself again. But
yes,
good.
But yeah, like who's ever his direct boss, and Triple H could even see it. Like, why is one of my announcers doing this? So I honestly believe it was someone in their mind getting demoted, getting mad. Saying something in public, and probably having, like I said, HR or someone just having a talk to about him.
Yeah.
Now, and whether they make it into an angle, that would, like you said, that would be great. Cole on a pole.
Cole on a pole.
Cole on a pole.
I'm here for show title. Oh my God.
Yep, there you go. But I feel like this is gonna, if this does come out to be like a match or an angle type situation, which I had that feeling, but I feel like the thing with Corey is a nice little roller coaster of whether it's true or not or work or not. But if they do kind of sneak in a angle of some sort, I feel like this is going to be the new Backlash angle, like the new Joey Styles, not good enough to call Backlash type situation.
Okay.
Like, I'm not even good enough to call SmackDown.
Well, and this is what feeds us too, because there's been rumors over the last year or so that Corey may be on the verge of being cleared to wrestle again. Right?
He is cleared.
He is definitely cleared. So I mean, which feeds the rumors or feelings or vibes or whatever of like, oh, he's gonna have a match with Pat or something like that. Like,
he's gonna beat Pat McAfee up and throw him out of the Rumble.
Right? Yeah, because there's been this like every time he pops up, and I understand like, and the things I read. And I try to write not bullshit rumor sites as much as possible. That like Corey like legit didn't know Pat was coming out like Mania or something like that, right? Yeah, or something, which seems weird to me. But who knows? And you know, this feels like the perfect reintroduction, right? Of something like this. Like we've done this before. Like didn't like Macho Man come out? No, Macho Man left. That's right. But we've had other guys that like kind of came out. That were wrestlers relegated to commentary that came back into a match situation, right? So like I feel like that can completely happen, and I almost wish it does turn into that, you know, because I think that would be a very hot feud. You know, I think people will get behind it. You know, people love Corey, people love Pat. You know, people, you know. And I would love Cole just being the peacemaker in the middle, just be like, you know, being the whole thing, you know. He was like, listen, I don't want my old friend to have a feud with my fun friend that dances on the table with me while the drone's swinging around us, you know. You know, I was like, this is a good time, guys. We're all here for a good time now. You know, the dark days are over. You know, like I want that to be the promo too. Cole. So, and then we can see, you know, maybe he coaches Pat as the you know, being an undefeated WrestleMania participant. So there's so many ways you could go with this that just would be a fun thing to do at Mania.
Now, I just heard the recording of the beginning of the show.
Okay.
And Vic Joseph says, don't adjust your set. This isn't AI. Corey Graves is right here next to us. And then Corey said, I'm right where I want to be. Where passion is everything. The hungry survive, and pro wrestling never stop being cool.
Wow. Okay. And then what did Booker say?
Booker would just kind of point at him.
And then he just said, Shucky.
There he is right there.
Okay.
There's Corey right there.
He just gave him the Scott Hall? Okay. Got you.
Yeah. As far as I know, there was no Shucky quack quack.
Ah, what?
I didn't. It didn't look like he did. He said "shucky shucky quack quack." I mean, you gotta have that from Booker.
You gotta save that for the moment later, you know. So they're. Oh, wait, where are they at? Where were they at? Is this? No, this isn't the center stage week. They're at home, right?
Yeah, I think they were at home.
We just had this conversation too.
Listen. I had a single beer and a lot of medication. Leave me alone. So, anyways. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And again, you can believe it or you don't believe it because, ladies and gentlemen, it's professional wrestling at that point. But and we'll see. He's back, and we'll I would listen tonight, see if he has any digs at Pat or anything like that, or anything. Because I mean, I feel like he's going to anyways. I mean, he already has been, you know, as a rule. Because, you know, two Yinzers in professional wrestling cannot get along. So, but also, I just, again, we've talked about this. I love that they're just like two Pittsburghese guys on commentary right now.
Yes.
Rich, you probably hate this.
Why? Why would I hate it?
I don't know. I don't know how great our accent is to a trained professional like you.
Oh, dude, I grew up outside of Boston. So,
yeah, that's true.
You know, and it's still like my Boston or, you know, New England. The funny thing, so Rhode Island is like it's a weird mix between like Boston and New York.
Yeah,
the accent, right? And I've had to work hard to kind of get rid of it, but there are times it'll just come out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's, you know, I get a giggle out of it. You know, I'll say "ka" something like that. I'd be like, "Oh, hey, what are you doing?" Pharmacy, the car. I had to go pack the car.
That's why I love you and Joe, because you guys kind of play with that a little bit, because he gets like a little bit out there when he wants to, too. Yep. So, God, us Pittsburghers are everywhere, aren't we? You can't get rid of us. Anyways, well, hey, you also can't get rid of our good friends. When it's not too cold for people to come in the studio, we like to make sure they don't have to worry about getting taken care of here for this dinner time podcast. And if this thing works, I will actually cue it. Thank you to our friends at Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza for well over a decade. The OG, the original, right up the street here. I know if you went to Taco Mania, if you were tired of taco stands, you probably went and checked them out on the south side there when they had that going on, and you're probably like really, really toasted on beer at that point, because it was a beer fest. So thank you to those guys, Rico and the bunch up there. Yes, it is the original location, the one the Beastman destroyed that one time, and so much more. Thank you guys for supporting our show. At sliceonbroadway.com. If you're in Pittsburgh, go check them out. And by the way, it does travel well. We did take an entire pizza to our friend in upstate New York, rewarmed it, and it was a beautiful thing. New Yorker approved. In fact, it's New York City style. Yinzer approved as well. All right, it is that time of the show to find out, what did you learn from wrestling this week? Who would like to go first amongst our panel? And I'll keep an eye on you guys on the chat room.
Well, let me go first.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that hating racist isn't limited to Monday Night Raw, as TNA proved to us.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
listen.
That's
with Tessa Blanchard, yeah.
Woof. Woof.
That was beautiful. That was just
I'm gonna jump in here and say this. I've worked with Tessa many times, and I'm not taking up for her here. I'm not. I've never, and this is one of those things, I've never had an issue with her. She's always been, relatively nice to me. I remember Wrestle Circus shows in Austin. She'd be setting up the ring and breaking down the ring, and generally helpful. So I was surprised when I heard some of these things. Now, a little bit of an ego or an attitude, sure. Who doesn't? That's a wrestler. Most of them do. A lot. It's just like, wow. Why would you? If she did it, why would you treat people like that? And why wouldn't you at least apologize at this point? Be like, you know what? I really fucked up. I'm sorry. I'm making a change. Look at Tom Brenneman, right? You know Tom Brenneman. You know who I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Castellanos home run.
Yes, the very famous. That's a deep trial. That'll be a home run for Cat. But I'm very sorry about.
Yeah.
But he's actually gone out and he actually has met and does a lot of work now with LGBTQ groups and stuff like that. So he's learned, and I believe him when he said, I said that and I didn't mean anything by it. It's just something I said that was off color, and I believe that because he's made the attempt that he's followed through on that. Why not do something like that? If
connected with that, right. Jay Briscoe. We were here in Pittsburgh when he had to do his apology for what he said. All right, and obviously it kept the Briscoes off. WB networks for until he passed. So but still, everybody was like, no, he turned around. Everybody was like, no, he's good. He learned from his mistakes. He and you're allowed to have growth. And you're right. And people are like, why didn't he come out? Why isn't Tessa coming out and at least assuring, taking care of that? Addressing it.
Look, even if you at this point, even if it's not what people think it is, right. Yeah. Even if you're gonna die on that horse. Okay, well, so your career's gonna fucking be in the shitter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? At that point, take the hit and be like, yeah, you know what? I said some insensitive thing, and actually do something that. Because if you didn't that time, I guarantee you that most of us of a certain age have said some pretty fucked up shit at some point until we learned. And we're like, you know what? No, you can't. That's not all right. You know what I mean?
And respectfully, Jordan Grace, is in this too, in a situation too, because of the match. It was a tremendous match, and unfortunately tainted by the situation. And obviously, she's going with it. Jordan Grace took TNA knockout off of her profile, so all bets are she's going to NXT or something along the lines, right? So it's I'll be very curious, especially with the connection with WWE, what happens with this. So it's been. I don't think they can play with this anymore. I don't think WWE or TNA can play with these kinds of situations anymore. You have to address it.
But you can throw Hogan out there.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean? Like
that didn't work out for them. So.
Yeah.
And we don't hear the boos in the stadium when or the arena when they play that Saturday night's main event promo with him, right? So that's interesting, and that stuff's in the can. Maybe they're just rolling with it, but we'll see what happens beyond here. It's on the mat, but we don't see any ads for that beer, for instance. So other than the mat. So I'm kind of curious to see how they play out from here on. And this is the reason he wasn't taken off of the logo. Like Hulk Hogan was, what happened in the Silver Dome for about 3 years, which is wild. It's like, wow, we blackballed Hulk Hogan. Like that's, CM Punk calling out that he will finally kill Hulkamania as if it didn't happen last week. Like that was my reaction. I was like, oh my God, this is the day Hulkamania truly died. Like on TV as far as things go. To the chat room, let's check in with them. But there's a lot of comments there I missed because this thing needed to get oh my God, I forgot about PCO. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
Oof. It's not what I learned, but PCO, like I'm watching the TNA show and I'm seeing like PCO just destroy the TNA Digital Media Championship. And I watched the clip and like people were trying to take the microphone away from him and everything. I didn't see his new comments. I know he had some comments the next day about clarifying, and I didn't have an opportunity to read those. But man, a lot of pissed off people the last couple of days. So, but that's going to happen with everybody. There's a Britt Baker situation. Allegedly, there's an alleged call of Tony Khan talking about how terrible she is. This is I don't know. Two sides to every story, and when I hear something like that, it's just like until you hear one way or another, you can't fault one party or another, as far as I'm concerned. So we'll see. And if that happens, hey. Can't wait for Britt at a WrestleMania or Rumble or something, right? I'm down for it. Who isn't? So let's get another fucking Yinzer in WWE, guys. Let's do it. Taking over. The Mad One learned that Chad Gable needs to go to the torture chamber led by Vampiro to truly learn the dark arts of Lucha Libre, so we can call them Chad Gable Negro.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a man. You've been really thinking about that hard for the
other
resident
thing
Lucha Underground historian, by the way. So we need to check in.
The other thing I saw that people were mentioning was this could be the reintroduction of whether he's going to be called Alistair or Malachi Black, because his dark arts training center. Mm-hmm. So this could be him coming back. I mean, Malachi Black versus Penta. Anyone versus Penta is going to be match of the week.
I mean, the match yesterday.
I
with Pete Dunne.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Jesus.
Yes.
Like, I know back in the day, like these would have been like 5-minute, no offensive moves type situations, but Penta putting up match after match with Chad Gable at the beginning, and then with Pete Dunne now, like, doesn't only elevate him, it elevates Pete Dunne and it elevates Chad Gable, who calls JD McDonough JD McDouche, just shortening his name for no reason. But just that style of making your opponent look like $1 million while you look like $1,000,001. Just perfect.
So, what I learned this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Listen, I can't remember this good energy coming off a show, off of this weekend. But there was a lot of good stuff. there was a lot of great introductions. Our friends Pretty Boy Smooth, there was Dante Casanova, who I told him to his face, I was like, brother, that intro was fucking kick ass, and you already look like a damn superhero. And of course, he's the new Exodus champion, NWA Midwest champion over there. But I out of all of that, all those superstars on the show, EC3, Sandow, whatever his name is now, and everybody like that. But on the YouTube stream, I can tell you for sure that the highest rated person on that show,
I didn't think I know who you're about
was
to say.
the entrance and debut of a character that has been building to his first wrestling match for over a year. He's not using this name anymore, but we knew him for a year as Mike from State Farm. And he had the most amazing introduction. I encourage you to watch the introduction, but in the meantime, because it's right here at my fingertips, I also encourage you to watch the making of when we were walking through the introduction, and EC3 was playing one of the State Farm dancers, as we were calling it internally. There he is on the left, by the way. Listen, you ever watch those videos with like Triple H is going through like an introduction and like having a good time, like showing the poses and everything like that?
Yep.
Three is definitely, at least he's adjusting him and says, no, you do this and stuff like that. Like, I love watching creatives fucking work, and he is having so much fun. And there's actually a good thing where he's just like dancing and having a good time at the end behind him, when he gets in the ring here. This is tremendous. I sent it to a friend who's a big EC3 fan. I'm like, here's this behind the scenes video. Don't share it with anybody. And then within an hour, I saw this on social media. I was like, oh, never mind. Everybody's going to see this. I just didn't want to be the one to make the decision. So tremendous stuff there. Again, that is NWA Exodus Pros. Begin Again. It's on the NWA's YouTube. It's free. And you can watch all that back as we produced it on Saturday night for all of that. So the camera works a little better, but here he's dancing in the background. Anyways, that's what I learned. Just having a blast with production here. I love good vibes and shit like this. And I think we're building something really, really cool there. And can't wait to go back in March for their next show there. So, Riz, what'd you learn?
I learned that Joe Hendry finally got his flowers.
Yes, he did. My God, that was great.
And he's also going to be in the Rumble as TNA champion.
Is that confirmed?
No.
Oh, shit.
I'm just betting that's
you happen. Also putting your bet in this year. Okay.
Yep. And also he did mention in his post winning interview about who he wants to face next or who's next in line.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned John Cena. Because John Cena posted the WWE TNA logos together, like what we were talking about. So keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, there was like some Cena should make a stop through TNA on his farewell tour or something, right?
Do it.
So I mean, we're in a year. Within a year, we had a Edge. God, was it here in Pittsburgh where Edge is holding a Ring of Honor mic, and he's like, "Well, never thought this would happen," for the post show. That got around there too. So hey, from the chat room, real quick, Tina says, "Not really a lesson, but do want to say I love it when the wrestling community comes together and uplifts someone. An unfortunate time for someone sending positive vibes to Allie Cash." Mm-hmm. I think she had a broken leg as a result in that match at the GCW Hammerstein show this weekend.
They actually posted on the GoFundMe X-ray pictures, and both her bones in her lower leg were. It was a break.
Yeah,
they were just basically it was if you know football, Joe Theismann injury. It was the Psycho Sid injury. It was that bad. Now I just checked her GoFundMe. She has undergone successful surgery and will be discharged this morning, it says. So they don't keep you in the hospital for that. And she does have a $60,000 goal, $60,000 goal for her GoFundMe, and she's already up to almost $50,000.
Good.
Wow.
Good. Glad to see it.
Yeah, with those injuries, you don't there's no real physical therapy in there.
No.
It's just you have to not move. Like you can't move that leg at all.
But I would say if you look at the actual X-ray, for one bone is snapped and off. The other one has two breaks in it. So there's the bone coming down from the knee, a little section which really isn't connected to anything, then the bone going down to the ankle. So it's nasty.
And just to qualify, Riz, I believe you have a background in sports medicine, right?
I do.
Yeah. So so it's a little educated analysis there for you guys out there. Rich, gave you some time.
Nothing. I didn't learn anything.
Nothing? Nothing at all?
No, you know what?
Did you learn anything from the show tonight or anything? Anything you wish you didn't learn tonight?
Oh man, what did I learn this week? Yeah, I don't know, man. I haven't watched any wrestling this week, to be honest.
Recently, we extended for our guests. Recently, in the last month or so.
Yeah, recently. I watch the stuff that I do. How about this?
What you learn from what you're doing?
I've got one. What I learned this week is if you're a promoter, make sure your referee knows that you have their back. If somebody doesn't kick out at 3, that they count the fucking 3. A lot of referees don't want to do it because they think that they're going to get yelled at. Count it. It's on the talent to kick out. It's not on you.
Yep.
If they fuck up the finish, that's not on you. It's on them. So, promoters, make sure your refs know that you got their back.
Good call. I've seen that, and I've seen that on very big stages, right? Yep. And it gets weird. And the crowd's going to notice that more than anything else.
And then, you for the announcers, we have to find ways to make it make sense. Recently, there was something in particular that happened where the guy was actually hurt, and the referee paused on the 3, and we were kind of like, and then a second later, made the X, and like, okay, well, the safety of the competitor is the most important thing. The referee realized that, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of go like that. That's a circumstance where it's easy to make sense of it. A lot of times you can't make sense of it. And you have to bury the ref, and I don't like doing that. So no announcer wants to do that. And count the 3. And again, it's on the promoter. It's on the promoter to make sure that your ref knows that you've got their back. So
excellent.
Do that, please. It's better for all of us.
I have one final question for you. Give you a little bit of lighter one to go out on here. Yes, for you. I have a special what did you learn? Okay? Because I got your because I asked what do you want to talk about tonight. You gave me a great list.
You did. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And there's one thing we didn't address yet.
There's a couple things we didn't address, but go on.
Well, but I think it's the most important one. You have seen Sunny Day Real Estate 12 times over the last 2 years.
Sure have.
What did you learn from that experience?
That sometimes having to wait for something that you really, 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 really want is awesome when it finally happens. I was supposed to go see them in '94 when their first record came out, and 2 times I missed them for various reasons. They broke up, got back together. At that point, my daughter was 2 or 3 years old. I was working, doing hockey, and then I was in hockey for 15 years. They reunited in '09, didn't get to see them then. Long story short, it took me like almost 30 years to see them. And like I used to joke back, my first wife, I'd be like, if they ever tour again, I'm literally going to every show I possibly can. And the last time I saw them was in Chicago, and it's relatively inexpensive to fly from Boston to Chicago. And great transit system, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, I want to see one more show on this tour because they did their first record start to finish on the most recent tour that they did. And anyway, I flew out there for that, and I've seen them like a bunch of times all over like different places, not just like Boston or whatever. I've seen them like in LA and Austin and Dallas. Like I've bounced around. Like I said, 30 years it took me, and I'm kind of nerding out, right? Like there's probably something going on with like where I'm on the spectrum or something where I like hyper focus. But seriously, I waited years and years and years to see them, and I had to wait, and it was worth it. So
That's awesome. I feel like this is one of those things where like you were rushing out of a show that we worked together on, and it was like, yeah, I'm going to such and such town to go see a band or something. I'm just like, what the hell? You know, I don't think that's where you live.
Last year, no, that was that Defy show in Seattle. Because it was the day before Easter. They played the next day in Los Angeles, and I figured, well, I'm already out in Seattle, I might as well go. So I flew down to LA. And I saw them that night, but like a little more than a year ago, I did a Deadlock show in Raleigh, and this other band that I had waited years to see, Velocity Girl, like pretty well regarded, like indie pop, like from the '90s or whatever. They were playing in Durham, so like literally the 1, 2, 3, I'm like, all right, goodbye, in the car, fucking hightailed it over to Durham, and I lucked out, and I think they had a problem with their bass amp. So they played like the first song, and then they had to do something where they had to fix it. So I only missed like a song and a half or whatever. So
that's awesome.
You know, a lot of I've been going to so many shows just because for so long I wasn't able to because I was on the road doing hockey. Like you know what I mean. So I missed out on a lot of that stuff. I'm obviously a big music fan. Like played in bands back in the day and stuff. So. It's cool. You know, I wish I could have seen them on the first run, but I don't know that a lot of these bands, I don't know that I would have appreciated it the same way that I do now. So
that's awesome. Rich, thank you so much. You got so much going on here. Again, January 26th is Deadlock Pro in Houston. You'll be in Defy Wrestling at February 7th up there in Seattle at Washington Hall. And we didn't mention too much, but in February 21st or 22nd, you're going to Qatar, I think it is, in the Mideast again. You've been there before with our friend Joe Dabrowski.
Qatar for Ali QPW is doing Super Slam, the big shows that they do. He's done a lot over there with. They have an academy. They run local shows. They're trying to develop, local talent, and it's one of the few promotions that I know of that's in the Middle East that's trying to make a go of it. Ali's a big wrestling fan. He comes to all the WrestleManias, all the conventions and stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm really excited to be going back. Doha is beautiful city. Very a lot more Western than I probably would have thought. I remember the mall. There was like an ice rink. There was a Tim Hortons, which blew my mind. McDonald's, like. It's right on the Gulf. It was, it was really, really nice. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, Saudi Arabia is gorgeous and, but you hear about some of the, the civil rights things, which I'm just kind of, hopefully there's not a whole ton of that stuff going on, but you know what I mean? It's, I just think it's cool that you can go over there, and it's wrestling that brings you together and, and I know it sounds corny and whatever, but like for all the differences that everybody has, you get together and, whatever you realize, well, shit, we're not really that different. We're really not. You know what I mean? And it's a very, for an American or, I'd imagine maybe even for like, somebody from Canada or whatever, from this part of the world to go over there and have that community or whatever. It's a very, very cool thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait for us to hang out again in person. But in the meantime, everybody, thank you, everybody. Again, Thursday night is Thursday Night Fights, our training show with our friends at T2T Pittsburgh Wrestling Academy. Also, check out their Patreon. They're doing their own show amongst the trainees here, the Happy Hour. We have nothing to do with it. Like, they're filming it themselves, so I'm really excited to see how that turns out and see even fresher talent before they pop up even on our streams on indiewrestling.us. And also we will be with VCW that will also be streaming on the YouTubes and everything for indiewrestling.us here on Friday night with Beastman and Cowpoke Paul and the crew there too. So
tell Beastman I said hey.
Yeah, I definitely will. My old buddy, the Beastman. I actually haven't talked to him too much since he came back from Japan, so we're gonna have to catch up for that around the doing a show, of course. So thank you, everybody. This has been the Wrestling Mayhem Show. We'll see you guys next time. Mayhem out.
Just wait. Wait for the perfect time, then attack. Don't give up what you want, take it back. Wait for the perfect time, then attack.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.